Now, I'm sure all of us have seen a paper airplane before. The concept of flying objects dates back way into history, likely since the first land ancestor saw pterodactyls in flight. However, since the discovery of paper, and when I say discovery, there are obviously ancient forms of writing surfaces, like this one depicting Ramses the Great in the Battle of Nippur. Now, the modern paper airplane as we know and love it was created by famed aircraft designer Jack Northrop. His contributions to the aircraft industry are still being used today. He co-founded Lockheed Aircraft and then later formed the Northrop Corporation, both of which are still around and producing billions of dollars worth of aircraft. Paper airplanes have come a long way since their original design, both figuratively and literally. John Collins designed the current paper airplane record holder, which flew 75 yards and was launched by Joe Ayoub. Now, we can't actually travel on paper airplanes, but we did learn to build aircraft starting at the beginning of the 1900s, when the Wright brothers invented the world's first successful powered airplane. Now, who'd have thought these cutie patooties would later invent flight and reshape the modern world? Oh, look at them. Now, fast forwarding to the 1940s, aircraft played a significant role in World War II. These women Air Force service pilots, or WASPs, Frances Green, Margaret Kirchner, Ann Waldner, and Blanche Osborne are shown leaving their B-17 pistol-packing mama during ferry training at Lockburn Army Air Force Base in Ohio. Women were essential to the war effort, but weren't actually allowed to serve in the military until the 1970s. Now, the times have changed, not only for women's rights, but also for the world of technology. Ever since then, the airline industry has boomed. However, there is a villain in our story. The 9/11 terrorist attacks created a generational trauma that radically altered our society's perception of risk. I remember that day, and the collective effects were profound. It's a seminal event of such importance that it completely altered our collective view of risk. There was how we saw the world before 9/11 and a very different one after, all divided by a single day. However, according to recent data, the safety of flying has greatly improved, and the technology has advanced to a point where a dichotomy is evident between our collective unease of flying and the infinitesimal risk of harm. Now, the following analysis suggests that recent data challenges the public fear of flying risks as a tool of transportation and leads to the conclusion that, if anything, flying has proven to be a much safer method of travel throughout the decades of its development. Now, here are various types of data surrounding the risks of flying. These compare the evidence of decreased risk compared to the most popular travel method, driving. The data shows that as the air travel industry grows and the amount of air travelers increase, the number of accidents don't. Rather, it shows observable decreases. This graph shows the comparative volume of total passengers and total accidents on a year-to-year basis. Now, this should calm our fear of flight. You can observe that the ratio or likelihood of casualties in air traveling has actually decreased throughout the decades. The aircraft industry has seen significant gains with the application of advanced risk avoidance technologies. Now, air fatalities do occur, and the data shows that most of them do not occur in commercial flights. The top 6 out of 10 air casualties can be attributed to military flight facilities. Now, this should settle the public fear of mass air fatalities and contribute to the logical conclusion that commercial flights are relatively low risk. This chart helps show the growth of the air industry and portrays the significant growth in air travelers. With the growing popularity of air travel, it has become a generally accepted method of traveling amongst more and more parts of the world, and should be appreciated as such. This is an adaptive version of the previous graph and shows the yearly percentage of grand total of all air accidents and all driving accidents from the years 1994 to 2019. This shows that the percentage of air incidents is almost ignorable compared to a decade ago, while the risk of driving shows almost no change. And the advancement of safekeeping technology proves that air traveling is much safer nowadays, and the risks of driving greatly outpace the risks of air travel. Now, this line chart helps to observe the growth of the air industry, and the curve shows slight exponential growth to the amount of air travelers. Now, this graph shows the significant decrease in compared risk by exponentially increasing amounts of flights per accident occurrence. The large number of flights per accident is shown through the volume of this bar chart. This shows that the risk of air travel is very small, around 1 accident out of 2 to 3 million flights for the years 2012 to 2019. That's almost comparable with the chance of winning the lottery at 1 in 13 million. The overwhelming evidence shows that the data clearly demonstrates the insignificant risk of air travel. Even if you are not convinced yet, commercial flight will only become safer and safer. Who knows, maybe one day driving will be more dangerous than flying.